Man, how about you give me your keys?
Hey man, I ain't got no keys right now.
How you getting into the car? Come on, give me your keys.
Man, put the knife down, bro.
Give me your keys.
Put it down.
I asked you to give me. Hey man, stop. I don't want any trouble. Give me your money.
Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan with Stage Dynamics. I'm here with Aaron Brumley from Solo Defense. What we're going to be talking about today is verbal commands. And what I mean is verbal commands we may use in a self-defense situation when it's prudent to use them and when it isn't, when they might not make as much sense. Putting things in context. We spend a lot of time on the range, even training shoot, don't shoot drills, which everybody should be doing. We don't always want to just mindlessly be engaging targets because sometimes in real life, the gun is necessary, shooting the gun may not be. But when should we use verbal commands? When should we not use verbal commands? So if I find myself in a situation where I feel threatened by someone, maybe I just don't feel right, maybe they're out of place, the situation doesn't make sense. I'm out walking the dog at night, or I'm getting cash out of an ATM, or I'm walking to my car, or what have you, and I find myself in close proximity to a person who, just for some reason, I feel like they may be a threat to me for whatever reason. Maybe their body language, maybe they've said something like that. And I'm in close proximity, we're in verbiage distance. Verbal commands are going to do two things for me. It's going to let that person know that I perceive them as a threat, and it's also going to let anyone around me know that something is going on. If I have to go immediately to the gun, I can issue some kind of verbal command as I do it to let witnesses know that something's happened, because we all know that it looks a lot different if I were to draw out a weapon and center punch him versus draw out a weapon, get back, get back, get back, get back. It obviously creates a different image in the mind of any potential witness in the situation. So what do verbal commands do for us? It lets a threat know that we're aware of their actions. It lets them know what we want to do, and it can also let them know the penalty for not complying. Can you threaten someone? Absolutely. If you feel like your life is threatened, if you have an objective feeling that someone is threatening your life for whatever reason, you can threaten harm against them in order to get them to stop whatever it is that they are doing. Obviously, within reason. Common sense applies to this. If someone just gives you a bad feeling but they don't have any physical manifestations of presenting a threat to you, you can't threaten to shoot them in the face. At least you shouldn't. And you especially shouldn't do it with a handgun or any other weapon. Alright, so if I find myself confronted with a threat, and this is an obvious threat. I got a guy here, he has a knife in his hand. Prudence dictates and common sense dictates that the knife is there to threaten me, especially if he gives me some kind of verbiage that he, like, hey, give me your wallet, give me your car keys, whatever, your basic threats. We're looking at a profit crime here. Now, and I bring up, and I say profit crime specifically because there's two different types of crimes that I could be encountering here. Technically there's three, but for the sake of this there'll be two. We have a profit crime, which is a mugging, and then we have a personal crime, meaning I know him, I don't know why he wants to hurt me, but I personally know him. So it could be a hatred, a jealousy, or anything like that. There is a significant difference between those two, which we'll get into. But for the sake of right now, I've got a guy with a knife, so obviously I want to get my weapon out. Is he close enough? How close is he? Right now, he's about 10 feet away. Would I be able to get my gun out in time? Right now, I want everybody to just go ahead, if you already think about it, get it out of your head, the whole 21-foot rule, there's no such thing. I've had students get the gun out on a guy approaching with a knife in as little as 6 feet. It's all based on your own personal proficiency and practice. The Tooler drill was never meant to be a bright line standard of when I can shoot someone armed with a knife. It was an example of how long it takes an officer to draw a weapon from a level 2 duty holster. 1.5 seconds, which means a guy can cover 1.5 seconds in 21 feet. It's easily to research that. You can Google it. You can read the original article that was in SWAT magazine back in the, I believe that was the 80s. And that'll tell you where the Tooler drill came from. There's no such thing as a 21-foot rule. That's a bastardization of the original information. So I'm facing a knife. Say I'm able to get my gun out and he doesn't move, he doesn't advance, whatever. Drop the knife. Put the fucking knife on the ground. On the fucking ground. Now, that situation right there. Any witnesses around here, what did they just learn? I just had a guy with a knife. I pulled my weapon. I had him put the knife on the ground. He complied. We're moving on. Now, do I pick the knife back up? Say I get the gun out. Drop the knife. Drop the fucking... And he advances. How many times should I tell him to drop the knife before I use force? My personal rule, if he's not moving, I feel comfortable with a couple verbal commands because the gun's already in play. If he starts moving, he gets 1, and that was the first one I gave him. I do not have to suffer harm before I visit harm upon him. Now, your state may dictate that you have a duty to retreat and everything like that, so definitely be in compliance with your state local laws. For my own personal protection, he's going to get 1 verbal warning, and that's it. If he shows signs of compliance, I will continue to issue verbal commands. Your verbal commands need to be direct, and they should not stack on top of each other. If he's moving toward me with the knife, what's my larger concern? Go ahead and walk up. Stop! Stop right there. Drop the fucking knife. Drop the fucking knife. If he's this close, my initial concern is his movement. Stop. He stops. He's shown compliance. Drop the knife. So, the basics of the knife are distance. If he wants to harm me with a knife, he has to physically be able to touch me with that knife. Barring him throwing the knife, that means he needs motion, he has to get close to me, he has to get within arm's reach. So verbal commands are largely going to be dictated based on his distance to me and how fast he's moving towards me. Obviously, if he were to draw out the knife and just start moving towards me, I might not issue a verbal command. I may go to the gun and defend my life with as many rounds as it took to put him on the ground and make sure he's not going to get back up. Firearms change everything. Say he's got a firearm. He's got a handgun, okay? If the gun is already in his hand, I'm already behind the power curve. At that point, the use of a verbal command doesn't make a whole lot of sense at all. But say he's got the gun out just for the show of the gun, and he's asking for my wallet or whatever, and I'm able to, through feint or ruse or whatever you call it, as I'm reaching for my wallet, I'm able to get my own gun out and get a sight picture. I'm able to punch out and be like, drop the fucking gun. Can he shoot me while I wait for him to decide if he's going to drop that gun or not, without me being able to shoot back? Everybody's heard the cliche, action is faster than reaction. Well, it's a cliche because it's true. And the time it takes me to process him bringing the gun up to shoot and then pull the trigger myself, he will have fired at least 1 round. Our bullets may pass each other in midair, but I'm still getting shot. Again, I do not have to suffer harm before I use force to defend my own life. So if he's got a gun already out and it's in play, should I use a verbal command? Me personally, not going to. I'm going straight to the gun. He's already made his decision. His behavior is what's going to cause me to use force against him. So I'm going straight to the gun. That's me personally. Will I offer that advice to other people? Absolutely. Because action is always going to be faster than reaction. And I say always because it's so true that the exception is it's very, very small. So he's got the gun out and he's threatening me with me. I get my gun out, I'm able to use it. Should I use it? Like I said, I'm going to use it. Let's say he's got it tucked in his waistband and he just shows it to me. And I'm able to get my gun out. Put your fucking hands up. You do not, I will fucking shoot you. Put your hands up. Put your hands all the way up. Up, all the way up. He's complying but slowly, which on the reverse side of the coin, I do the same thing. He's got a gun. It's not in his hands, but I see it. Now, I don't know what necessarily brought me to this situation. Maybe he comes up and he just has his hand on it and he's like, give me your wallet, give me your keys. Put your fucking hands up. Get your hands up. At what point should I use force? Can I use force? Is he threatening me? Yeah, he is. There is no way he can reasonably explain this situation other than to have some kind of lawful purpose for approaching me with a tucked firearm and then issuing some kind of threat. Say he walks up and says, give me your wallet. No reasonable person is going to believe this is some kind of innocent situation. He's threatening me with a firearm. Just because he's not pointing it at me does not mean it's not a threat. So I've got my weapon up. Can he draw and shoot me before I shoot him? Okay, so verbal commands against a firearm. When should I use them? When shouldn't I use them? When do they not make sense? Well, remember what I said, action is faster than reaction? Well, now you're going to see that. In this scenario, once I put my helmet on, Aaron is going to have the opportunity to shoot me whenever he wants. All I'm going to do is draw out my gun and continue to issue him verbal commands, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. He can make the decision at any time to shoot me, and I'm going to have to react to that. Our bullets may pass each other in mid-flight, but we're both getting shot. The only part of that situation that concerns me is the fact that I have to get shot before I can shoot him, which is why verbal commands against a firearm might not make a whole lot of sense based on the situation. Drop the gun, drop it! Drop the gun! All right, so that was just one example of action versus reaction. He literally jumped right into it. As soon as I got my mask on, got my weapon out, I think I'd given you one verbal, and then he just shot me. And I immediately reacted and shot him back. But the fact is, I still got shot. If you want to look into it, dive into it, I mean, we have such an access to information out there. You can Google these things. You can look at reaction times, average reaction times, how long it takes somebody to process a visual threat and then deliver the signal to the brain that tells them to pull the trigger on the gun. There's a lot of science in this because you can't get away from it. So when it comes to action versus action being faster than reaction, it's true. And there's there's so few exceptions to that rule that you should not even try to rely upon it. If someone has a weapon in their hand, they are a threat. They can deliver force upon you before you can react to the threat of force. Like I said, bullets may pass each other in midair, but you're still getting shot. If you're okay with that, then that's fine. Me personally, I'm going home bullet free. So when confronting a firearm, be it in the waistband or in the hand, I'm not going to be as comfortable continuing to issue verbal commands if they're not responding. Now, if they start backing up or if they go to leave, that's different. But if they're still standing there as a threat and they're not responding to my commands, at some point I have to make a decision. I have to make it very fast if I'm going to use force or not. Because there's so many possible variables to the situation, I can't tell you definitively what you should do, but I have demonstrated that it's very easy for someone, once they make the decision to use force, to do so. I'm Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics. Training Court.